Mr. Derry here, going to go over some detailed sections in Revit. Um, I've got Reese's home open right now, and I'm looking at a wall section that I created. I'm going to back up a moment, show you how I got here, and then hopefully you'll pick a section of your home that you can start to add a um, detailed section. So I'm going to take a look at Reese's house in 3D for a moment. And I just want to point out, if you're doing a typical section, you usually want to set a portion of the house that's, clean without a lot of, we wouldn't want to do it where the fireplace or the porch is. So I'm looking at this part of the house right here where there are no windows, and I'm just going to do something simple. In many cases, you would include a window, but we don't have a lot of time right now, and I just want to show you some of the basics. So we're going to do a section view right here. So I'm going to bounce to the first floor for a moment, and we can see that there already is a section view here, and I believe I've altered that a little bit. If you remember, if you click on this portion of the line right here, it'll allow you to change the depth of view, and I've pulled it way back in tight, so we're only looking at a small depth, so we're not seeing any interior walls or windows or so forth. I've also got it relatively narrow in the width, but we can adjust that in the section view itself. So I'm going to double click on this section now and bring us to the section view that we were just looking at. And the first thing I want to do is rename it so that we don't get lost, because you probably have quite a few sections created now when you are aligning your walls. I know that this is the view that I'm in because it's highlighted in bold. So I'm just going to right click and rename that view. And we're going to call it our detailed section. Okay, so now you can see that it's bold and it's going to be easy for us to find. Now, if we look in here, you may or may not have some issues with your walls that you need to address, but Reese's is in pretty good shape. His foundation is in the right spot. Walls appear to be lined up. But when Revit cuts the walls and the floor, we have some things that wouldn't happen for the real construction part. And the other thing I noticed is Reese selected the wrong type of roof when he put his roof on his house. So I'm going to select this roof, and instead of a generic roof, we probably want to go with a 10-inch rafter with asphalt shingles. Depending on the span of your roof, you might need to go with a larger rafter, but we don't have the time to get into choosing rafter widths based on spans. We'll just grab the 10-inch rafter. I'm going to unjoin that. And by the way, Reese, this is a copy of your house. I'm not messing up your original project. You can see that now I'm in thin lines, and I have the fine level of detail selected, and we can see that we've got the rafter itself, we've got the sheathing, and we actually have the shingles on top, which gives us a little bit more detail. Let's start at the bottom here and see what we can do to make some changes with this. Actually, I'm going to start right here to begin, because right now, if you note, this wall really should be sitting on the floor system, and currently the wall is sitting down here. This represents our gypsum board or sheetrock, and this represents our stud, and our stud doesn't sit down here, it sits on this. So how would we go about fixing that? Well, we're going to click on our wall, and we're going to go to Edit Type over here, and I want to edit the structure, and I want to be in preview mode. Whoops, preview mode. And I want to be in the section view, not the floor plan view, so that it looks like this. And then I want to hit this modify button. Now I'm going to zoom in real tight here. And if we zoom into the bottom of the wall, if we click on it, we will see a lock. I want to unlock that. And I also want to unlock that. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to be able to move the stud, which is this brown portion, and the gypsum board independent of the plywood and the siding. So when I hit OK now and hit OK, you're going to notice that I've got a couple of additional arrows here. So I should be able to click on this wall now and grab this arrow and move it up so that my wall is actually sitting on my subfloor. And that is correct. So now my stud is sitting on my subfloor, and I've got that covered. We're going to put a sill plate in here in a moment, but right now, if you remember, we put some gypsum board on the bottom of our floor system so that we'd have a finished ceiling in the basement, but that gypsum board would not go all the way to the edge. So there's a way to trim that back that's a little different than what we just did. We're going to select the floor. We're going to go to View and go to View here, I'm sorry. So you're going to hit the View tab up here. You're going to hit Cut Profile. Then we're going to select just the gypsum board itself, and we're going to click and drag and draw a little line. And I'm going to pull it back a little bit off the foundation wall. You'll notice there's a little arrow here. I'm going to go up and grab my Modify, and the arrow represents what we want to keep of this gypsum board. And I don't want to keep the section that's over the foundation. I want to keep the section that's over my basement. So I flip that out, I hit OK, and you'll notice now that my floor system, I've just cut away that gypsum board, so I have room in here now to put my sill plate in. And if you set your levels correctly, we should have just 1.5 inches in there to insert a component. Before we insert the component, however, we need to load them. Okay, the components that we're looking for, we want to be careful. We want to make sure we're on the Annotate tab. And here we're going to go to Component. And if you haven't loaded it, you would go in here if it's not available to you. What we're looking for is wood and plastic, wood framing, and we were looking for nominal cut lumber in section, and hit OK. Now you should have all of these different pieces of lumber here. All right, so, and some other things as well. So what we're looking for is, normally the sill plate is a 2x6. You can click on that. You can get rotate after insertion. We don't want it here, so we want to rotate it so that it's horizontal. We'll get that at 90 degrees. Let me try. There we go. Going to hit escape. And I'm going to take this guy and I'm just going to line it up right here. So that's our sill plate. And that would be a piece of pressure treated lumber. If you want to get fancy, we can just align, should be able to align that. There we go. Align that to that and lock those together. And it's nice and clean. Okay, so sitting in the concrete, we're going to have an anchor bolt, so we can go back to Annotate and go to Component. And I would suspect we have some anchor bolts in here. Anchor bolt, and they're different diameters. We'll go with 3/4 inch diameter anchor bolt, and we'll put that in here. And again, we're going to line it up so that just hit the escape key a couple times. And we can see that our anchor bolt is sitting in there nicely. This gets it put into the concrete before it sets up. And then the carpenter would drill some holes into the sill plate so our house is bolted down. All right, we need to continue up the wall here and put a few more components in. So we need another 2x6 here for our bottom plate. And then we're going to put another pair of them for our top plate, another one here, another pair there. So we're going to repeat this process a little bit, but we also need to clean this section of the wall up, ceiling up first. So first let's put another component. Again, I'm on the Annotate, Component. In this case, I'm going to go grab another piece of dimensional lumber, another 2x6, and I want to rotate that. After we put it in, here we go, and hit escape, grab that guy and put it down here, and line it up with the bottom. Whoops. Okay, I'm going to try a copy and paste. That works. So I can take this guy. Oops, we don't need two at the bottom, we need two at the top. Bring that guy up here. Oops. And the top of your wall, you would have a double top plate. So I'm going to paste another one in. Just line it up like that. Oops, I forgot to trim this out first. We're going to have to move both of those. So quick repeat on what we did before. We're going to take this and go to View and Cut Profile. I need to draw a little line right here. And make sure that I'm not touching my wall. My arrow goes to the left because that's what I want to keep. I hit OK. Now I can move these up to where they belong. So this belongs up here. This belongs up here. And this would actually extend up a little bit. So one way to do that would be to extend that profile. So we should be able to go to View, Cut Profile again, select this guy, bring it up like this. Let's see if that works. That brings that up. We need to do the same thing with this one. It's a little bit tedious, but cut this guy up. I'm drawing a line here to here to here to here. And it's important that we keep the arrow on the inside because we want to keep all of that. That should work, and it does. Now we can take these guys and move them up. And now for me, all of this stuff looks very familiar. This is our sheetrock. This is our double top plate. This is our plywood. And I don't know what it looks like if we show it realistic. Does that help us out? Yeah, maybe a little bit. I think for now I'm going to leave it in wireframe, hidden wireframe. All right, so we're going to need to put another bottom plate here, another top plate at the top. We're getting into 12 minutes here, which is a pretty long video, so I'm going to pause that and we'll add a little bit more for the next one. So you're going to repeat the process. There's going to be a single plate here and another double top plate on the wall there. I'm going to pause it, or I'm going to end this video, and we'll do a part 2.